With respect to the etiology causing the listhesis, we'll see Newman and McNabb had given the classification system. According to that, if our congenital factors are playing a role, it is congenital listhesis and it's type 1. Similarly, type 2 is an ischemic form of listhesis. Type 3 is a degenerative or age-related cause. Type 4 is a traumatic cause. Type 5 is the pathological cause causing the listhesis. And type 6 is post-surgical or iatrogenic. We will talk about all these in details. Congenital is also the dysplastic type. There are some factors or developmental anomalies which will contribute to the listhesis. As we see, there will be congenital abnormalities of the upper part of the sacral facets or the inferior part of the fifth lumbar vertebra, which allows a slipping to occur. Now, this is the normal facet. Compare it with the facets over here. These facets look smaller. Also, as seen in these X-ray. So, this is causing the slip to occur, and hence it is called the congenital or the dysplastic variant, which is approximately 20% of all the cases. Now, it is important for you to remember and understand the pars interarticularis is intact, because this is an important differentiating feature of this variant with the others. One other important thing is that this type of dysplastic listhesis is generally associated with spina bifida occulta. As you understand, this is congenital and also dysplastic is congenital, hence both have a higher association. The ischemic type contributes to 50% of the cases. Now, what is ischemic type? As I told you, my friends, to remember from type 1, there is a defect in the pars interarticularis that allows a slip to happen. Now, as we see, my friends, this would have been the normal pars. However, there is a breakage in this pars area. Now, this breakage or the defect in pars is causing the forward slip of L5 over S1. There are three subtypes of this. The first is the lytic type, in which the stress fracture of pars occurs. Now, this stress fracture is normally seen most likely in gymnasts. So, the children who are involved in activity of gymnastics or activities like playing football may have this association. The second subtype is the healed version, in which the pars defect won't be seen, however, the pars would be elongated. As we see in this X-ray here, this pars looks to be elongated as compared to the one here and here. This is the reason why we say it to be the healed version, because this may be a type of the stress reaction, but there is good time in which the healing would have taken place. This is the reason why there would have been a listhesis or the slip that would have been happening, but there is also a time that was given for healing, and hence the pars became elongated over the period of time. The third variant is acute fracture of pars, which may be because of high energy injuries. So this is important to remember, because this is the differentiating point of this type from the traumatic type. The third type or the degenerative type corresponds to almost 25% of the cases. This type happens because of intersegmental instability of long duration and subsequently the facetal remodeling. Now, in this the pars is intact, and this listhesis is generally of low grade. You have to understand the neural arch in this type is more or less intact. As we see here, we hardly see any defect. However, if you look closely in this representative image, this is the normal foramen. This is also foramen. However, the foramen over here is degenerated. Hence, this is a degenerative type of slip that happens, or degenerative type of spondylolisthesis. As we see in this X-ray here, there is a slip that has happened. This is the L4 vertebra. This is the L5 vertebra. Look at the slip. And along with this, you can clearly see at the disc space. Look at the size of disc space. Let's compare it with this, with the proximal one. There is associated degeneration of disc space. So, in short, you are going to see a lot of degenerative changes in this type. One other thing that you have to remember is that this degenerative type most commonly occurs at L4, L5 level, which is different from the isthmic type, which is known to occur at L5, S1 levels. I will repeat, isthmic type most commonly occurs at L5, S1 level, and degenerative type occurs at L4, L5 levels. Type 4 is a traumatic type in which you have to understand there is a fracture which happens in the posterior elements other than the pars. Now, the subtype of type 2, the third subtype, had an acute fracture of pars. Now, this traumatic type has a fracture, but it is other than pars. It should be either pedicle, lamina, or facets, as we see here. The pedicle is fractured. This fracture is causing the slip to occur. So you have to differentiate whether the fracture is happening because of pars or whether because of other elements in the posterior aspect, which will determine what type exactly it is. Type 5 is a pathological type, which basically has an underlying disease process, which may be a generalized or a localized one. For example, osteogenesis imperfecta, multiple myeloma, or even tuberculosis, which will cause the body to give away and the slip to happen. Type 6 is post-surgical, which is generally because of loss of posterior elements, which is secondary to surgery. My friends, you have to understand there are a lot of surgeries in spine that we do in which we just do decompression. But there are strict guidelines of how much bone to be removed and how much should be saved. Now, in case a bit more than actually required bone is removed in order to decompress, such cases in future may have a fracture happening in the posterior elements, because of which this slip might happen. This particular example which you are seeing, this was a patient with a disc in which a limited laminoforaminotomy was done. However, even after following the guidelines and removing lesser of bone, this patient developed a fracture and sudden onset of back pain when he incurred this. When he came to us back, we got it investigated and saw that he is developing a listhesis. What are the drawbacks of this classification system? The first drawback is that it is difficult to predict the progression. That is, which patients are going to progress, we don't know. So what exactly should we tell the patients? Whether you are going to progress or not is difficult. The other thing is that because of considerable overlap, it is difficult to exactly pinpoint and identify the type. And also, there is no guideline given with respect to treatment. They never talked about which type should be treated, which type should we be vigilant about. So this is a very big limiting factor because we don't know which exactly is the listhesis that should be followed, and the patient should be counseled that they are going to need some or the other form of treatment.